Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Crossover Commerce. I'm your host, Ryan Kramer, and I am the affiliate marketing manager for PingPong Payments. Thank you again for joining us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and any other place where you might be watching us. We hopefully have found us, and if you're watching us later, not on a live channel, welcome. I have a very special guest today from YLT Translations. I have Jana, who is the CEO and founder. Let me bring her in. Jana, thank you so much for joining us today on Crossover Commerce.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be on your podcast.
The honor's mine. Yeah, so I know we've kind of teased this a little bit in the last 24 hours or so at the beginning of this week. A lot of people are talking and asking me questions of, translation services and what's YLT, and like even within my own company, YLT. Wow, I've seen them everywhere, and I've seen you everywhere personally. So I just like to get started with people saying, what's kind of your background? Maybe tell us a little about who you are,
right?
What led you to YLT and how to start that company.
Right. So I have a background in languages. I'm actually a certified translator, and I speak 5 languages. So this is what I went to school for and got my bachelor's and master's degree 12 years ago. So you can count like how old I am now. I'm not going to say it.
Well, we won't do the math.
No, we won't. I was always really passionate about languages, and I've always wanted to do something on my own. Like ever since I was, like in high school or university, I used to teach, languages on the side, like tutoring and translations and stuff like that. And then when I was 20, I got my first job at this little startup. They were a Danish-based startup that was outsourced to Belgrade, Serbia. At that point, they only just had this call center, and they hired me to be a Danish representative. So I had to have a fake name. So my fake name was Heidi Larsen, and I was just
answering
call. Yeah, I came up with that name. I have no idea why, but I handpicked like Heidi Larsen. That was my alter ego.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
It's okay. It's a name, and it stuck with you. That's very interesting.
Yeah, that's it. Like I was really happy. I'm like Heidi. I kind of liked how Heidi sounds, and I'm like, I should pick like a random Danish name, and it was like Peterson or something like that. I'm like Larsen, like Heidi Larsen, and this is that. That was that. And so I was working there, and then they were scaling very, very quickly. And at that time, that was like 10 years ago, we were doing like a SEO when that was not called SEO in the first place. That was called posting backlinks on forums. Like this is what we were doing.
Oh my gosh.
And we were writing some keywords and stuff like that. Nobody knew what we were doing. And fast forward to 7 years later, the company grew to have like 400 employees. They were cross-selling across 15 different marketplaces, 15 different countries. I was chief operations officer, and then later I was very interested in the business development. So I went over to be the business development manager. A very good thing is that like throughout those 8 years, I literally went through all of the sections, different departments of a country, which you don't get to experience that often, even if you don't build that yourself. And I was very, very, interested in e-commerce and Amazon. They started selling Amazon like 10 years ago. This is when I first heard the word buy box. It was very, very interesting for me. And that's when I saw like doing the international marketplaces, I saw that, the translations were not good anywhere. Like we were not as a company investing a lot in those. And then I always thought that, good translation is a very good investment. And then after we started hiring native translators, doing some sort of a keyword research because there was no Helium-10, for instance, at that day. Right. We started getting some really better results, better sales, and it was just like with tiny effort. It was not like done the way it was supposed to be in full. And I was like, this is very interesting. And so that was kind of my live case study, because nobody didn't care much about Amazon in the company. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do whatever I want. So it was like as if I was a seller. And after 8 years, I decided to quit my job because I really thought that, I should not work for anybody else, and that I should work for me and myself. And the trigger was that I definitely, not only me, but people at the company, they were not treated with respect and with any sort of appraisal. They would, they would not give you a raise. Like, like I was sent to Russia to open a completely new branch of the company, and it took me 2 years. I did everything, and they gave me a 50 euros bonus.
Oh my
50,
gosh.
and that's like $70. And I was like,
Right.
are you serious? And I asked for a bonus, and they didn't even give me these 50 euros. I had to ask for this to get a raise or to get a bonus. And that was just like, I mean, that was then it was that pulled the trigger. And I'm like, okay, so you're definitely going to quit the job because you deserve like your decisions and what you can do. Like, you should do that for yourself and not for somebody else who's not gonna who's not gonna just, they're never going to be able to give you what you deserve because you're working for somebody else. I mean, a couple of cases, yes, but they will not treat you with, with something that I thought that I deserved. And a lot of people that I know don't appreciate themselves enough that they quit the job. They stay and work for somebody they hate, or they stay with this lousy work they have. They hate the work as well, and then they don't do anything good for themselves. So I'm not a risk taker. I never changed my life overnight. It took me 3 years to quit my job. So I was like, I didn't have the balls to do it. I was just like sitting over there and being like, I don't know, I'm really miserable here. Let me check my 50th YouTube video today and 50th tutorial on how to change my life. But I'm not going to do anything about it this week, nor this month, or this year. So it took me about 3 years to quit my job. And after I did, I was incredibly proud of myself, even though it took me forever. And that's when I started YLT Translations as a regular translation agency. We were first offering like solutions, and I was doing some e-commerce consulting because I can build an e-commerce from scratch. Like, I have so much knowledge because of what I learned in this previous company that I grew to be like an e-commerce consultant. I didn't even know I could do that, but I could. And then YLT Translations was born, and we were doing translations for websites, for payment service providers, like basically focusing on e-commerce in general. So we were offering also Amazon translations. And then after about 6 months, I saw that the Amazon had a really great potential, and that we don't have that many competitive field. Of course, I mean, there are, and there still are today, but not as many as with the regular e-commerce translations. And these were companies that were there for 40, 45 years. They had all these like certificates, standards, etc. And I just thought that it's going to be a lot of trouble and a lot of money that I should invest that I didn't have at that time. And I'm like, why don't I focus on Amazon only? I know so much about it. I could train people for this because those translations are special type of translations. And I think I'm just going to offer Amazon, and I'm going to niche down. And I'm like, this is like, like, it's good to niche down, but then kind of you have like only one simple service. Like, you really want to, do this? And then I had this like really good feeling, and I decided to follow my gut. And I'm like, I just want to do this. Let's just niche down and do only this thing. And that turned out to be the best decision I've ever made, honestly. And till this day, I never regretted a single day when I decided to niche down and do one thing. And people often ask me, like, do you do like PPC? Do you do like account management? And I'm like, no, like we don't do that, and we will never do that, because I just really want to offer like this exclusive niche service that is one of a kind, and I'm gonna stick to it, and that's it.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, that was such a great story. I think kind of that you go through what a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, on Amazon do, is you just are finally like tired of it. What was that one thing of your current status, and you wanted to do something for yourself? What was that one thing that pushed you over the edge? You said it took 3 years to quit your job. What was that? Is there a moment that you can think of, you're like, this is it, I'm doing it?
Yeah, well, that decision came to me exactly, 3 years before I quit my job. And what triggered me was that they gave me a 50 euro bonus for 2 years worth of work in a foreign country, where I set up like everything, like bank accounts, auditors, the office furniture. I hired a complete staff. It was like a lot of work. You would get like at least 5 figures to do that for anybody else, right? And they offered me 50 euro bonus, and I was just like, this is a joke, right? This is just insulting, you know. It was very insulting, and I was just like, come on. And then from that point, it was 3 years. So I was it was really hard for me to change something so radical in my life. And especially because I'm born, I mean, I've lived abroad and like I travel all the time, and but I'm born and raised here in Belgrade in Serbia, and that is Southeast Europe. And it's kind of Eastern Europe mentality, from like basically everyone, from my parents to my friends, that once you get a really good job, you stay at and work in the very same company until you are retired. Like that's it. This is you know, if you have a good job, if it's a well-paid job, and my job was very well paid for Serbian standards. And you know, my parents, when I told them that I want to quit my job, like my mom got so upset she didn't even talk to me for a couple of weeks because I dared to quit such a well-paid job. And I'm just, you know, I'm spoiled, and I'm like, you know, the answers you get were something like, you should be happy to have that job. Like, why are you like that? You should be grateful to have that job, you know. And this is all that was coming to me from my friends, from my family, because this is the mentality over here. And people don't do they don't do online things. Like even today, people are just like, I don't really understand what you do, because like there's no Amazon over here, and people don't understand that. They don't understand what's PPC. It's like very abstract term for them. To offer something virtual is like, you know, selling magic or something, you know. So a lot of people, I mean, now of course they support me and everything, and they try to understand what I do, but overall the climate is not like e-commerce oriented. And a lot of people do freelance, but most of people don't own the companies or are a service provider. Most people tend to do like freelancing or do some like small projects on the side of their secure job, you know, because people don't risk that much over here, because that's just how they have been told for generations, and that kind of runs in, you know, genetics and family. And it's overall it's a mentality like this, you know, like compared to the US, it's like, you know, here, and we're here, and it's, you know, it's unbelievable. So I think that's also one of the reasons that it took me to quit my job for 3 years. And me personally, I was not confident enough. I was doubting myself. I was not comfortable with that situation. So I kind of prolonged it the most I could, literally. And then, you know, I think it had to do also with meeting Lazar, my current boyfriend. We met at the company, and then he was like, you should quit your job. You should do it. You're so miserable, blah, blah. You should like, you know, quit the job you've hated so long. And then, you know, I'm like, you know what, maybe I think I should do it. You know, I think that somebody so close to me supported me because I want to do that, kind of actually made me do it.
No, that's an amazing story. And I think I found a lot of truth in what you said. I think a lot of people are naturally scared to make change. I think our generation, like I would consider our two selves the same generation. I think a lot of people go where there is, you know, opportunity. And I think that it's becoming easier and easier for people to say, listen, I want to go where people are going to value me as a person, but also, you know, to push myself and be a better, like, career-minded individual. So I think that's very cool. And listening to Lazar, obviously you made the right choice, and he probably first saw, he's like, this is gonna be great for both of us, and you, Jana. So that's great. So starting, you were an employee of one, right? You at YLT were just an employee of one. What's that like, starting a business as an individual person? Is like, trust me with your services. How did you maybe market yourself? How did you, you're like, this is day one, what do I do now?
I know. Well, first I was like really heavily depressed, because after 8 years being in corporate world, and, you know, like we had a lot to do with the Danish Chamber of E-commerce. It was all like suits and like, you know, high heels, makeup, you know, it was my life for 8 years. And then after that, like it was like all taken away from me, because I was like at home in my pajamas. And I mean, now, and this is the kind of, it has a different feel to it now after all the lockdowns. It doesn't feel so weird that you're in the pajama for a couple of weeks. But for me at that point, it was a disaster. And I was like so depressed. I'm not a depressed person like by nature, depressing person by nature, but that was such a big hit for me that I just, and then I told myself like, come on, you should get some makeup. You should, if you put on some nicer clothes, you'll feel better. But it was easier said than done than actually doing it, right? And then, after 2-3 months, I'm like, okay, I have to pull yourself together. Nobody's going to come to you unless you market your services, right? And
Exactly.
at that time, I was still saving money to, for marketing. I could not afford like having a couple of $1,000s per month, just kind of, blown to marketing without having any, actual results. So basically how I first started is I joined every single Facebook group there about Amazon out there. I remember I had like this list, and then, I would just double check if they, approved me or not, like every single day. And I just kept on reading what people are posting over there and see what what questions I could answer as, as a person, like this random person. I didn't even write like YLT Translations on Facebook as my place of employment back then. I was just kind of reading and being like, let's see how much I could help these people here.
Right.
And
observing and establishing yourself as a person of expertise.
Exactly. Like this is this new person, Jana Krekic, like nobody knows who I am. And, here I am just, reading these questions and answering. Sometimes maybe I'm right, maybe I'm not. But that's the beauty of Amazon. Sometimes you can have your theory and it doesn't have to be true, but neither does anything else have to be true in some certain things. It's like, according to my experience, and then, like people would be like, okay, let's try this. Because like in Amazon, it's all like A/B testing, right? It's always like testing and results and like seeing if this works or not. And things change the whole time. So I just started answering questions about like international marketplaces, about languages, about I don't know what. And then it was such a great moment when I got my first email. That was like 2 months after my posting engagement in these Facebook groups. And I got an email from Katie. I will never forget that. She was like in beauty products. And she told me like, hey, I found your post on Facebook. Because I was so afraid that, I always have to comment something so that it does, the people don't forget me, or so that the post doesn't, get older. But people actually search the keywords in those groups, so your post shows up. Even if you wrote it like 6 months ago, people are still gonna dig it out and read it, and you're gonna be relevant. And then I was like, oh my God. So like all of my posts are like there forever. They're like in this database, sort of. And
you can't get rid of everything. It's always out there on the internet.
Yeah, right. It's there forever. So what you're writing. So, and then Katie sends an email. It was December that same year. And I quit my job in October. Beginning of September. And then, she sent an email. Katie says like, hey, I would like to get my listings done and my manuals and my follow-up emails. And I was like, oh my God. And at that point, like I had a couple of people like, on standby that were doing translation. They were professional translators and I trained them, but they were like more of a freelancers. I would hire them when we have a project, and I mean, I talked to them like in September, and I'm like, they probably forgot about me, right? And so like I brought them like, we have a project. And then we did our first thing, and like, but honestly, like that email, I was rereading that like that whole day, and then I'll just go back and be like, sit at my computer and be like, oh, it's still there, it's real, we got an email. And that was such a big moment, and it was so funny. And from that, the client things kind of started rolling very, slowly. But then I got like more and more exposure in those like really big Facebook groups, and people were like liking my comments, and I was leaving our website and stuff like that. And then I decided I'm not much of a public speaker, and I was very nervous, and like I was not feeling comfortable. I'm not even comfortable doing this, but people think I love it. But I really don't feel comfortable all the time, like doing the podcast and stuff. But just because I don't feel like extra confident or whatever. And then I decided to go outside of my comfort zone. And I'm like, look, like if you want more people to get to know about you, you have to present something to them, some good content or something. And YouTube channels or podcast on my own at that point, it was just like, I can't do that. So let's just go and like talk to other people who have those and present them to and present yourself to their audience, because I basically needed like somebody who has like a big audience. And then the first person I contacted, this was like February, I contacted Augustus from Orange Click, right?
Right.
And then
friend of the show who was on earlier this week.
Yeah, Augustus is great. And then I reached out to him, and he was like, who are you? And he was like kind of rude, and I was like, I have some really good content, like nobody talks about this, let me give a chance. And he was like, YTL, YLT, what did I cannot even pronounce that. And I was like, oh my God. And like, this was like my first outreach to anyone. And he was like, I'm sorry, I don't think this is gonna work. And I was like, oh, seriously, man? Like, no. And then he was like, sorry, and after that, he said no to me exactly 5 times. I tried reaching out. It was 5 times. I told him this last year. And he was like, no. I'm like, yeah, that's what happened. And then after the 5th time, because I was so, persistent, and this is like something my life in the States taught me, that, you have this Serbian mentality where here, if somebody says no, you don't come again, because you're just going, it's very embarrassing. It's very embarrassing to do that, because no, if somebody says no, you go home and like you cover yourself with a blanket and be all sad and don't go there again, right? But like in the States, they tell you, like, if somebody closes the door, you knock again, and you knock again until they open it, and they give you a chance because you're so freaking persistent, right? And I was like, okay, so this is my business. If I don't do this myself, nobody's gonna do this for me. And me being like crying and being depressed is not gonna help either, right? And so like I finally, after my 5th like outreach, he was like, okay, let's do 10 minutes and see, maybe it's a good idea. I don't know. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. So we recorded this video.
You're in. Yeah, you had your first in.
Yeah. And we did like a 6-minute recording about, I don't know, like just marketplaces in general, and just interesting facts about keywords, international marketplaces. And we got so many clients from that. And Augustus was like, this was good content. It was good, blah, blah, and he was like, let's do something more. And I was like, sure, like definitely we should do it. And then after that, he invited me to his online conference. And after that, I got invited to my first real-time conference next year. And then, literally like from that point, the thing just kind of started rolling so fast. I got to know all the people from the industry because we were at this live conference in Prague. And, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so insane. And the best thing what happened at that conference is that because I speak Danish as well. And so I got approached by the Danish guy, and he started speaking English, because it's not like a regular thing that, people speak Danish at all. So he started speaking, and, and I heard he has like a Danish accent, and I told him in Danish, like, hey, we can switch to Danish. And he was like, oh my God. And, like people always love when you speak their language, right? They kind of get even more friendly. I got like tons of clients just because I could speak to them in their own language, and they didn't expect that. And so like I talked to the guy, and he was like, oh yeah, but one of our clients is my ex-boss, with the one I quit my job from. And I was like, interesting. And he was like, you're a very good presentation. And I'm like, make sure to tell him that you were listening to my presentation. So what happens is that a couple of months later, I got invited to speak at the Danish Chamber of E-commerce, actually.
Oh, wow.
And awesome. I was presenting in Danish, and I was, oh my God. And unfortunately, I didn't see my boss over there because he was supposed to be there. And maybe he didn't even show up because he was furious that I got to talk there. But
like
for me,
the one who got away, exactly.
Yeah. But for me, that was such a huge win. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, I don't need any clients. This was completely enough. This just made my whole year, honestly. That he is like, partners were impressed with what I was saying, and that he will know that I kind of, survived and thrived, because, like a lot of people who have like, hideous boss would just always love you for you to come back begging for work, which is also what he thought that I would do, because he was telling this to all of his coworkers. He was very upset when I went.
He thought that you were going to go out, fail at whatever you're going to try,
and
then crawl back, essentially crawl back
crawl back, begging for my job back. Yeah, this is what he told one of my really close friends at work, one of the coworkers over there. This is what he said. He was like, "What's Jana up to?" And then my friend was like, she's starting her own like agency and blah blah. And he just laughed and he was like, she's so gonna be crawling back and begging for work just anytime now. And he was like laughing. And I was just like, we'll see about that, but actually somebody saying that, it's not like, I think, I actually got to prove that he actually said it out loud. I understand that you might think something like that, but you actually approach someone and tell him this. That was just, like the lowest point of anybody's life, honestly, and like, so yeah, but from that conference, like things started, like just rolling like faster and faster. I got to meet like so many people from the industry. Then I was reaching out to a lot of people because now I had like speaking experience, right? And so I would always say like, this and that. And like, my topic is very interesting because other translation agencies that do what we do, they don't speak at conferences. They don't do it the way we do. They don't kind of present themselves as much. I really try to go out there and like, present me at first, and then also our services to people and share some good content so people can try something for themselves and learn. And I think that's also like what gives us a sort of an edge over other agencies, I think. Just, after that, like, I started reaching out to people for conferences and stuff. And then at the end of that year, I actually got invited and paid to speak at the conference,
That's
and
a new level.
Yeah, it's like, and I was just like, wow, somebody wants to pay me and like, get me to speak there. And that year, I think I did 14 conferences that year.
Oh my gosh. And those are all in person?
Yeah, all live conferences. Yeah, I'm not counting the online ones. These were all live. I was like literally traveling to a different country every month. And I loved it, and I was just like, I'm going to spend all of my money on like this travel and everything because it all turned back like so, it was just insane. I really could not believe what was happening. And then, at the end of our first year, we were here for almost 3 years. At the end of our first year, there was only almost 18 people in the team. And that was, such a, like, when I opened, we all live on Slack. I don't have an office. We're a remote team. But when I open Slack, I have like all these names, and I'm like, some of those I don't even know personally, and like I'm like, this is weird, and like scary at the same time. And you're like, you have all these people in your payroll, it's like you have to provide work for these people. You're now taking care of them, and stuff like that. And fast forward to today, there's the team has reached number 43, so we have 43 people in the team.
Wow.
Actually, and
I was gonna say, so where are all your employees located? That's a huge growth from I would say what you said 3 years ago.
Yes.
43. Are they all around the world, or are they mostly in one country?
Basically they're basically around the world. We have some of the translators from the translation team are in Japan. Others are in Mexico. Most of them are located in Europe.
Okay.
We have a lot of Portuguese and Mexican translators that live in Spain or Portugal or in that part of Europe. A lot of people relocate all the time. So most of the team is located in Europe, which is fine because I'm fine with the European time zone. What can be a problem if there's somebody, like in Shenzhen or, in China or that part of the world.
You're speaking to the person that has to deal with that as well. So
oh my God.
For those of you who don't know, for PingPong Payments, we're an international company as well. Still technically a startup. I'm located in the Eastern time zone. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, but we have team members on West Coast, which is a 3-hour difference from me. And then we have most of our team in China, which is a 12-hour difference. But because of the United States has daylight savings, so we fluctuate times. So now I have to readjust my time in my head of when I'm going to be talking to people in our headquarters in China or around in Europe. Nowhere else has to deal with these kinds of changes, just the United States. But I feel your pain.
Yeah, and then always like, when we post like new projects, it's always like Central Eastern Time, East Eastern time, like EST, and then it's like all of these different time zones, and then a lot of times you just write a completely wrong deadline, like completely wrong hour, and be like, where is this? And they're like, well, it's not even 11 a.m. in the morning where I am, and I'm like, oh my god, where are you? It's such a big mess sometimes, but it's just like you learn through practice that you
Right.
do these mistakes. You just have to do something for a couple of times to figure out how it works, and then you make tons of mistakes, and then you kind of fix them. So when somebody sees you now and they're like, oh my god, I would make so many mistakes, how you do it? And I'm like, so did I for 100 times, and now I don't, because
I'm just used to it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do it. So but the turning point for the company when it started growing really, really fast is when I learned. And I was, of course, again, very afraid to delegate. And so I was like in operations, like by myself, like I was like buried in work, working for like 15 hours every day, because I had to control everything, be in everything. And, like I don't speak all these languages, but there are so many other operational things that you had to take care of. And then at one point I was like burning out so bad. And then Lazar says like, okay, we're going to have like a really fabulous vacation. It was in February, and we were going to fly to the Maldives with our friends. And I was already making like, like I'm going to work there. And Lazar's like, of course, you're not going to work from the Maldives. Are you crazy? And also, what if there's no Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi, if there's a poor signal, we're not going to bring a router with us. Like, don't, you're not gonna do it. And I'm like, oh, so you think I shouldn't work? And then he's like, yes. That's the whole point of this vacation. It's
called vacation.
Work. It's called vacation and not workation. So, and I was like, okay. And then what I did is like, I hired for this, like, there was like kind of, I'm going to do this like one time. I picked our Italian translator, and she has been in the company for such a long time. And I was giving her more and more tasks to do. And I was like, let's see, like I also like, this is like, you never go against your gut. If your gut tells you, I don't think she's gonna be a good fit, but I just have to do it and let's see what happens, like something terrible is gonna happen. But like for me, it was just like, no, I think Luna is amazing, and I just really feel it in my gut that I think she's gonna be amazing for this. But I was super scared, and so I was just like, look, Luna, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna uncover all of the company secrets and like let you know all the procedures and everything, and you should talk to people, you should organize this and that. And like I taught, like the training for her was like a week long, like a delegation of like tasks and stuff. And then I went to my vacation, and I'm like, okay, I might as well not have the company when I come back, but this is what I have to do. I cannot keep burying myself in work. I'm just gonna burn out like more often, and eventually I'm just gonna completely break down. And this is something that I should not do to myself. So I went to the Maldives, and like for the first 3 days, I couldn't literally sleep. I was having like anxiety attacks. I was just like, I could not relax. I was drinking so much so I could relax, right? And I was just like,
I was gonna say, probably not a great place to have an anxiety attack, which is a beautiful location.
Yeah, it was like everything was perfect, it's like we're in freaking heaven. And then it was just like it was not working for me, and I was so under so much stress and like anxiety about the company was gonna happen. And the Wi-Fi was a very weak signal, so I could not even go and check my email. And I'm like, look, like there's nothing you can do, nothing. Like I told Luna, if there's a problem, you can send me an SMS, and and then I would text her like, is everything okay? And she was like, it is. And
the company has not burned down.
Yeah. And then like after like 5-6 days, I started like relaxing more and more and more. And then after like 7 days, I'm like, okay, I'm on vacation. It's gonna be fine either way. Probably something bad will happen, but I'll take care of it after I'm back, and then I'm gonna like find like better procedures, and I'm gonna figure this out the better way. So I come back after 2 weeks, and everything is working just fine. Like there was not a single disaster that happened, and I was like, oh my god. And when I saw that worked, I just decided to delegate like 90% of everything I was doing. I hired some other assistants, and like today Luna is our operations manager, and I could not think of anybody else who would be better fit for that role. And she has assistant, we have project managers, we have team leaders, we have so many, like we have like this whole management system built. And that just, was, I was able to do that just because I tried. It was way out of my comfort zone and nothing bad happened. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to delegate absolutely everything I can to other people. And I'm not going to bury myself in work because I have so many like other smarter things to do, So
Right.
today I basically maybe dedicate like 5% to what I used to do. And then I focus 95% on other things such as, like branding and just, talking on podcast, meeting new exciting people and like, procedures and other things, and just kind of thinking of like, how can I enhance and scale our business even more, which is something that if you're an entrepreneur, you should be doing that and not burying yourself in operational work. And once you see that that's actually doable, and that, I mean, of course, there's a bit of luck as well, because I was lucky to have Luna as the first experiment that worked, If it didn't work, I'll probably be super afraid to delegate. But I'm pretty sure that everybody has in mind that person that would actually help them and they can rely on. And I just, I couldn't, I think that's the lesson number one that I've learned from my business, that delegating is everything. That is the beginning of your success.
That's a great point to take away. I think you have to try something in order to obviously see if it's successful. And then when it is, you're able to, because everyone's protective, right? In your instance, you started your own business, you walked away. It took you how long? Obviously 3+ years to walk away from your old job. You were very protective. It's almost like your child. You wanted it to be successful and didn't want to fail. But that's really cool story to hear, that just leap of faith and kind of almost blind trust. It's hard to give that to people, but then also when it's successful, you're like, why don't I just do this more? Like you said, now 90% of your load is delegated to other people, which is really cool. So, and I'll reintroduce us and we'll kind of jump into more of like what YLT does today. So my name, again, everyone for joining. Thank you again. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube live. My name is Ryan Kramer. I work for PingPong Payments, which is an international cross-border payments company. We're basically a digital bank account for e-commerce sellers. I have multiple guests on every week with our show called Crossover Commerce. Today is Jana of YLT Translations, and Jana is very experienced in obviously, like the title of her company is Translations. We're talking about international marketplaces, which is what our company at PingPong focuses on. What sections or countries, I should say, does YLT focus on?
We focus on absolutely all international marketplaces that exist on Amazon. Basically, we do all European marketplaces, and also, we always have like this info from Amazon what's going to be next, so we can get the team ready ahead of time. So we also, for instance, now we offer Sweden, we offer the Netherlands, we also offer Poland and Czech Republic, which are supposed to roll out next year. They were supposed to roll out at the end of this year, but because of all this COVID madness, like it got pushed back to 2021. And apart from Europe, we also do Mexico. We also have translators for Brazil. This hasn't started yet, but I think it's going to be a very interesting marketplace. We do Canada, we do Japan, we do Singapore, UAE, and Saudi Arabia.
That's a lot.
Yeah, you guys, basically we cover all international marketplaces out there.
And that's just on Amazon, correct?
Yes, just on Amazon. But apart from Amazon, as I was, saying, like we originally did e-commerce general. So we also do if you have a website, if you need it in Russian or maybe Korean, like we also covered that as well. But we focus on Amazon translations. But a lot of times sellers have their own websites built apart from Amazon, so we can also help with those as well. And we also don't do just products, like we do basically everything that is in connection with your international sales, like manuals, follow-up emails. We do ads translations, like video ads are very trending right now. And I have like this really cool tip about video ads. And in the US, a lot of people are doing video ads. Not as many as you would think. So it's a very good, feature to get activated. They take a lot of surface. They convert like crazy. They take a lot of service, people want to click on it. But in Europe, not a lot of sellers use video ads. And there's a trick to it. And that is because like video ads in Europe, in order to be shown, they have to be translated in the target language. So if you have a video which has like an English text or person speaking with like subtitles, they all have to be translated to German. Otherwise, you would not be able to show the video ad in English on the German marketplace. And a lot of sellers in Europe, they don't use that at all, that option. So think like, if there are not that many US sellers who are doing that, just imagine how few of those are doing in Europe. So it's a really great opportunity, definitely.
So what's, for people who are starting out and thinking about growth in international business, a lot of people I think have a misconception of what do I need to do to prepare myself to be successful? What do you tell sellers who are coming to you and saying, hey, I want to first start out, I'm in Europe, I want to sell in the United States, or I'm in the United States, I want to sell in Germany, or I want to sell in UAE. What's that kind of tips list that you are suggesting to those clients?
Well, first of all, you definitely have to get registered. I mean, I would always, going to the States, you definitely want to get the trademark registered. That's absolutely mandatory. It takes like 5 to 6 months. If going to Europe, you definitely have to register for that and for VAT. It also takes a lot of time for that, especially German VAT could be very tricky. But nowadays, I mean, Brexit is going to happen in more than a month. And a lot of people from the States who want to expand to Europe, they were always going to the UK first because of the language barrier, of course. But now, like in 2021, this is not going to be such a good idea because FBA warehouses are not going to be, able to ship your items from the UK warehouse to other European marketplace, European countries, because UK is not going to be part of Europe anymore. So it's going to change a lot of things, and people are very angry in the UK because this is going to happen. So I would definitely suggest Germany as also being the biggest marketplace of Amazon in Europe as the first stop for you in Europe, and then to definitely register for the Pan-European program. This is something very very good because Amazon has been adding countries to that Pan-European program, and they're going to add even more next year. So Pan-European program means that you can sell inside of Germany, France, Spain, Italy, now the Netherlands and Sweden, and of course the UK, but that's going to go away pretty soon.
Sure.
So, there's going to be Poland, and which is a very big country. There's like 30 million people living there. They have their marketplace called Allegro, which is in the top 10 marketplaces in the world. I think they have like 143 million people visit like the website every month. Wow. So it's insane. Yeah. And I think that should also be a very good marketplace. But definitely, if you want to sell in Europe, you want to register for the Pan-European program, get your VAT taxes registered and sorted out. And
Sure.
To definitely decide, I would always recommend FBA. If you want to do it like in the States or in Europe, definitely register for FBA. I know that this year there's been a lot of problem with FBA because Amazon just could not deliver all those packages. It was such a big delay, and then a lot of people were switching to FBM. This is fulfilled by merchants, so you don't need the warehouses and stuff. But I think I mean, if you can do that, like you could switch to that as like I have my plan B ready.
Mm-hmm.
But I would always suggest people starting on FBA, definitely.
Yeah, those are great tips. Do you consider with the you said Pan-European program? This is the first time I'm hearing. So
Pan-European.
I apologize for the question. How does one go about selling on that? Do you have to be an established seller, or can you just apply as a beginner?
No, you can just apply. And that's it. You just wait. You get approved. You get your numbers, and like basically that's it. You don't get your VAT sorted out with the Pan-European. You just get registered for this Pan-European program, and then VAT is something you have to take care of yourself. Like for instance, you can hire a VAT agency such as like a VASC, or like you can hire people who know what they're doing. You definitely want to hire a well-established company to take care of your VAT, because this is like going to like a fake doctor to fix your teeth. You just don't do that, right? So I would always recommend going with like somebody that's already an Amazon partner, definitely.
Right. And that's where for PingPong comes in. You can actually pay your VAT authorities through our solution. So something where if you have someone who's doing your payments, definitely hit up PingPong and we can help you out with those on a legitimate above board level. So kind of a cool segue into us. So thank you for that. So with that program, what are the benefits instead of individually selling on each marketplace? What are the benefits and maybe the setbacks for that European program?
Well, the benefits are that you have like this one warehouse. It's like an FBA warehouse. And then whoever orders anything like from Italy or Spain or Germany, like it gets shipped out from that very same warehouse. So you don't have to have multiple warehouses in each country. So Amazon takes care of like all that. You're basically covered to sell everywhere in Europe. You don't have to worry about that.
Okay. So,
and also what's very interesting for the Pan-European, sorry, I just remembered this. Earlier, the reviews were not available. Like you were not able to see all the reviews for all the European marketplaces under your product. For instance, you have this ASIN number, so it had like different reviews in Germany, and then you had like 3-4 star reviews in Italy, for instance. And they changed all that by merging all of the reviews into one. So basically, when you go to Italy, maybe you have like one Italian review, but you get like 500 like or of German or the UK ones. And I think also that they did that because now with all of these reviews, you get kind of a fair start when you start selling a product, because getting those first couple of reviews was always a nightmare. And then, you know, if you want to start selling like all across Europe, you have to go through that same nightmare every time you launch your product with the 0 reviews, and it takes forever. And sometimes it's, you know, it takes a lot of time and money, and it doesn't work so well. So what they did is they merged all the reviews from all of these marketplaces into one. So when you launch a new product in Italy, which you already have maybe in the UK, all the reviews show up, and that helps you sell the product even better.
In your expertise, is that a benefit to sellers? Because I know culturally, some products might sell better in Germany versus Italy, and so on and so forth. So is that a drawback potentially from this program?
Well, I mean, you don't have to sell in all of those countries. I think if you have a bestseller product, for instance, like a lot of products that are bestsellers in the US are also the bestsellers in Europe, or vice versa. So I would suggest if you want to expand, you always start with your best-selling product and see how that goes. I think it's very, very useful, you know, to know that basically the products would work on both continents. Apart from Japan. Japan is something very different, and you really have to have a very specific product, and you really have to know that, you know, it's a good fit for that marketplace. It's kind of tricky. When you find a good product, it works wonders, but you cannot be sure that your best-selling product in the States and Europe will sell equally well in Japan, for instance. So I was always suggest going with your best-selling product, and just having like a complete like business plan before you start launching. I think that, you know, if you want to do it right, you have to plan ahead and have like a long-term plan. So like if you want to start like with a new country or new marketplace, we all know that Amazon gives you that, you know, honeymoon period with that, you know, it gives you more than your listing deserves in the beginning. But if you don't play your cards well, like maybe if you decide to get ranked for irrelevant keywords or too broad keywords, and Amazon figures out that you're not that important for what you think you are, they kind of push you down and you go away from that page 1, you know? And you know what they say, like, you know, where to hide a dead body, it's on page 2, you know? So once you're, you know, not on that page 1, you're just, you're nobody, and it's gonna take you forever for you to get back there. So that's also very, very interesting, very important to plan ahead, to have a good business plan, to have your listings optimized, to have your PPC campaigns ready, to know the keywords that you want to get ranked for. And it's also very important to do the keyword research for every market separately. So don't just, you know, a lot of times, and this is something which I've seen that a lot of big sellers, you know, they make this mistake. So it doesn't really matter if you're just starting or an experienced seller when it comes to international marketplaces. A lot of people just use the same keywords. Like, for instance, even if you compare the US and UK marketplace, you will see that the keyword results are not always 100% the same, because people search for different things. Maybe it'd have different expressions. Like, like the most hilarious example I know are thongs, right? Like the women
Right.
underwear, thongs.
Sure.
And thongs in Australia, they mean flip-flops, right? So
Right.
you don't want to like use thongs, right, in
Don't want to use
Australia
that.
or
Exactly.
no, and I mean, this is just like talking about English speaking countries. So just imagine like how big of the differences are when you have countries which have like completely different languages, spoken over there. So that's very, very important. And a lot of people just, give the keyword list and they're like, just translate it to Italian, or they go to Fiverr, or, maybe, they hire a native translator. It's fine. But these translators, they don't know Amazon. So you cannot hire someone and expect them to understand why you're doing something that you're doing. If you give the keyword list to translators, they will just translate that as it is. And then, like my suggestion to you would be that if you have like a keyword list that is translated, then you would just have to check all of those keywords that a translator translated on Amazon and see if something similar to your potential product shows up or not. If it doesn't show up, then it's not a good keyword. And it doesn't really guarantee that that combination of keywords actually exists in the search engine, right?
Right. You're talking about manually going in and putting those keywords into Amazon on that marketplace.
If you don't want to invest in like a tool and do a proper keyword research, if you still want to go with somebody having those keywords just translated as they are, you should just definitely go and double check all of those keywords, or tell your translator to double check that on Amazon, because if nothing close or similar to your product shows up, then this is completely meaningless. And what people do is just that they just translate these lists of keywords and then they put them in their PPC campaigns. It's one big disaster, especially when you are new on a certain marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great tips that we just heard from Jana of YLT Translations. Again, everyone, thanks for joining us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. A couple more questions that I personally have. What's kind of the vision for your company moving forward? What's that next step to grow and help Amazon sellers? Is that diversification to different marketplaces? Is that just helping people getting the branding out even more for you? What's kind of that next step for
Right.
the company?
Well, I would like, well, for me personally, what I'm working on is branding. I really want for people to recognize us as the leader in this specific niche. And I would really love for people to, also recognize our colors and our logo. Like I really want to do a really good branding for the whole company. And for instance, I love, what Helium 10, is doing. They're doing an amazing, things with branding and stuff. So I would maybe want to do something more similar to that, so that when people, I don't know, see blue color, it's Helium 10. So I would like to see see like three colorful dots. I think of YLT, or whoever thinks of translation, that then they need to come to us, right? So that we are well established as a leader in our own field. This is my goal definitely for next year. And I would just really love to get more publications, or I got a call from the New York Times journalist last year asking me stuff about Amazon, and then I was like really excited. I was like, oh my god. And unfortunately, he didn't choose to feature me, what I said, because it was not that much about international marketplaces. He quoted other people, but I was just so excited about like somebody dig up my name and they asked me stuff, and I would just really want to work more on that, and like creating some really good content, and helping more and more people scale. I mean, there's nothing more rewarding than when you understand that you made a 7-figure seller and 8-figure seller just because you use your own strategy. So that would make me very proud. So definitely branding and helping big sellers be even bigger, or small becoming bigger. Just basically helping people make more money. Yeah,
exactly. Well, I appreciate that. I know PingPong does the same thing. We try to help grow individuals and take that next step moving forward, especially in international marketplaces. I think you'll start seeing that trend. A lot of United States sellers, which is where
definitely
I'm located, will start growing internationally. I think probably more focused in 2021, but I would consider what you guys are doing fantastic. I see you everywhere talking. I know YLT, for as short of a time as you've been in the marketplace, I think you guys are doing a great job. Again, shout out to our friends over at Helium 10. They're a consistent brand that people bring up. I worked for Viral Launch, so everyone knows that.
Yeah, exactly. Or right. Viral Launch also did amazing branding, and they were overall a fantastic company. So it's pretty much the same. I want to be something like very, very big and well respected in the community. And I'm also like, what's my also plan for 2021 is that, for instance, like Luna, our operations officer, I'm also pushing her to take on more clients, to speak at conferences, because I believe that, company is not only one person. It's, because it has to be a couple of people that you kind of push in front and, just give them the chance. I think everybody deserves a righteous chance. And, considering I had like a really good experience in my previous company in terms of, knowledge and everything I went through, and it's super bad knowing how horrible our boss was to us. Like that's like the one thing I've always, promised to myself, that I'm going to be like, a strong but righteous boss, and that I'm going to, really appreciate all the efforts and everything that my whole team was doing, because if they were not doing a good job, I would not be here talking to you today and, just having to share this story with you. Definitely.
Absolutely. And there's just so much more I know we can talk about in terms of international marketplaces. The invitation is open for you to always hop on, Jana, in terms of just a specific niche. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to leave us with what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they have specific questions about growth internationally, or how can they individually work with you? What's the best way to do that?
Right. So I would love to have you ask questions. I love helping people. I'm really passionate about what I do. So you can reach out to me. You can add me on Facebook. It's Jana Krekic, Krekic, or you can like our Facebook page, YLT Translations. We always post some really good international related feedback, some new things. We're always trying to be up to date with some very, things that concern international sellings, and some really cool hacks or tips that can help you scale your business, and which you can definitely try out yourself. This is something which I always encourage. I really like to put out some content, and then I get feedback from people saying, we did this, we tried this or not, So I just always think it's about giving out some really free, good content, and not hiding or trying to, charge for something that will help people. Definitely, I think people appreciate that a lot.
100%. And I can speak for, hopefully I can speak for you in saying we'll hear a lot more from you in the Amazon space. If you haven't talked to Jana and her team, definitely reach out if you're looking for more international expansion advice. And we look forward to working with you guys as a company moving forward too as well. But thank you so much for hopping on today. I know it's kind of later in the day for you where you're located. I know we're just getting started here in the United States, but love the content you shared today. And thank you for joining us today. Again, follow Jana on Facebook, LinkedIn. Don't have a YouTube page, right? But
no, I don't have a YouTube page, but I have Instagram. We have LinkedIn. We have Facebook. So YouTube maybe soon to come. Who knows?
Yeah, stay tuned. You never know what stuff like this.
You never know. Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate that. Follow them on all those social channels. I'm Ryan Kramer. I'm the affiliate marketing manager here. You can follow me individually on Facebook, Instagram, and then follow PingPong Payments on YouTube, Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. So thank you so much, Jana of YLT Translations, for joining us today. This is Crossover Commerce presented by PingPong Payments. Join us next week as we go back live with multiple different people and getting perspective in the Amazon and e-commerce space. Thank you again, Jana.
Thank you so much for having me, and stay safe and healthy, guys.
Absolutely. Stay safe, everyone.